Tell y'all a ghost story. Y'all hear a ghost story? Ghost story. Check this out, right? And this is actually a true story. Jenice Hawkins. Jenice Hawkins lived in Sarasota, Florida. She had two kids, Tylil and Tasha. Tylil was in the 6th grade. Tasha was in the 5th grade. They were like a year apart. Anyway, Jenice Hawkins was a very hardworking mom. She was 37 years old. She lived in an apartment complex, 3-bedroom with her 2 kids. She had been divorced from the kids' father, Jerome, who moved to Miami and got remarried 4 years ago. She also has a 1-year-old daughter, his new wife. Everything went good. He's had a really good job working for the city of Sarasota in Florida. The kids were not too far from where they lived at, where they went to school. She was a hardworking single mom like every other woman in America. And every woman in America is a single mom, but y'all know what I mean. Now, one particular day, Jenice's friend, Lisa, came over after not hearing from her friend for 3 days. Came over about 4:30 in the afternoon on a Friday. Lisa knocked on the door, and Tylil and Tasha were in the living room. Tylil was doing homework and Tasha was watching TV. This took place back in 2001. Lisa knocks on the door and Tylil lets her in. And she's like, "Where your mom at?" Tylil begins to tell Lisa that, well, mom made us lunch, and which was some sandwiches and some potato chips. And she's back there in her room. She's, taking a nap. Lisa was like, "Well, what's been going on? I've been trying to call her. I called her like 3 days straight. She hadn't been answering the phone. Y'all good?" Tasha and Tylil looked like they had just got home from school. They looked well fed, well dressed, everything. And Tylil and Tasha decided, to reply to Lisa, "Yeah, we're good. Mama, she can't, we've been here about 2 hours. Mama is back to sleep. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why she's not answering her phone, but, we good. She's taking a nap." So Lisa decided, well, you know what? Tell your mama to call me when she wake up. She started to leave. She's like, "No, this heifer ain't talked to me in 3 days. I need to holler at her about something." Lisa's younger sister had just broke up with her boyfriend. She wanted to share the latest gossip. So Lisa decides to make her way down the hallway to the very end of the hall, which was Jenice's room. She gets to the end of the hall and she knocks on the door, Jenice's door. She knocks on the door. "Lisa, wake up, girl. Why you ain't been answering your phone?" Knocks again. "Girl, wake up." Jenice didn't come to the door, so she's knocking on the door. "Hey, wake up. I ain't holler at you. Wake up. You've been hiding. What's been going on?" After about the 3rd or 4th knock, Tasha and Tylil decided to peep down the hall to see what was going on, to see if their mom was going to answer the door. Jenice never answered the door. So Lisa decided to go ahead and open the door and let herself in to Jenice's room. When she goes into Jenice's room, Jenice is laying there on the bed. It looks like she's taking a regular nap. Like, "Girl, you don't hear me knocking on the door?" This is what Lisa told her. "You don't hear me knocking on the door? I'm knocking on the door. You ain't. What's going on? Like, wake up. And calling you for 3 days. You ain't been answering your phone." Jenice ain't moving. She's like asleep. She's out of it. So Lisa walks over to the bed and starts to shake the bed. It starts to shake Lisa. Lisa starts to shake Jenice to try to get her to wake up. Jenice never wakes up. She shakes her again. "Girl, wake up. What's wrong with you? Wake up." Jenice ain't moving. She ain't waking up. Her eyes closed. She ain't moving. Now Lisa's panicking because she's shaking and shaking her. She's not waking up. So finally Lisa yells down to the hallway for Tylil to go ahead and call the 911. "Your mama ain't waking up." Tasha runs down the hall and runs into the room next to Lisa, trying to, wake up her mom. And Tasha's just trying, "Mama, wake up, wake up, wake up." Jenice ain't waking up. Anyway, the police come and they come into the apartment and they try to resuscitate her at least 2 or 3 times, right? I forgot how many times they try to resuscitate. I think they tried like 3 times. She never wakes up. So they pronounce Jenice dead. And when it gets to the hospital, so Jenice passed away. Of course, her kids are devastated, right? Tylil and Tasha. They're devastated. Lisa's devastated. But the police decided to ask asked the kids, Talil and Tasha, some questions. Like how long, what happened, make sure there was no foul play, and they have to do an investigation because the person's passed away. And plus, being the nature that Jenice's age, I mean, she was only 36, 37 years old, which is fairly young, right? That's why the police and some detectives just had some questions. But she was with, she wasn't sick, none of that stuff. When the officers asked Natasha and Talil what happened that day, they said their mother had just opened the door, let them in. She was in there making them sandwiches and stuff, and she was asking them about their day. Talil said she even got on him about his homework not being completed because she remember talking to the teachers about him not turning his homework. So she made the first thing he do is to get to his homework. And that's what Talil was doing when Lisa came over to check and see what was going on. Nobody came over. Jenice had a dating life. She had just started dating a guy. They went out once and she never invited him over, so the guy didn't know where she stayed at. They couldn't say that he had anything to do with it. He just started dating the guy maybe 2 or 3 weeks prior. Kids had never met him. I said he didn't know where she stayed at, so it couldn't have been this new guy that Jenice started courting. They decided to do an autopsy. A couple of days go by and the autopsy results have came in. Apparently, Jenice had been having heart problems throughout her life for years. She had a small heart murmur that she was born with. Apparently, what the autopsy came to the conclusion of is that Lisa had passed away in her sleep she slept in her sleep. She had pretty much passed away of a heart attack in her sleep. She had heart problems growing up and everything. She just happened to pass away in her sleep. She had a heart attack in her sleep and died. Well, the thing about it is this. So, according to what the kids were saying, that Friday afternoon before Lisa came by, their mother had just made them sandwiches and chips and everything, and she went to go take a nap. Apparently, some would say that Jenice died Friday, right? Well, not according to the autopsy reports. Apparently, what the autopsy concluded that Jenice had died Monday, 3 days prior. So, because her body was ice cold when they did the autopsy on her, when they brought her into the coroner's office. And her body showed signs of being on the inside of being in decay and in what they called it, rigor mortis stage. She had been dead for 3 days. So the officers and everybody are kind of threw back, right? Because the kids just said no. Like our mom was up talking to us, making us lunch. She made us breakfast that morning before we went to school. We found it rather odd that she wasn't at work. Tasha had stated that her mom was in her pajamas the last 3 days, but they didn't think nothing of it because their mom would take, days off. Her mom would work real hard for months at a time, putting in overtime and everything. And she would just take a lot of time off and just be at home chilling just to recuperate. They didn't really pay it no mind. They just thought, oh, mama just taking some days off. That's why she's in her pajamas for the past 3 days. She just, she's done that before, what the kids had told her, Lisa and the police officers and their family and everything. So it wasn't unusual. So the officers and the investigators decided to call Jenice's job. They said, well, hey, you guys Jenice wasn't showing up for work. You guys, they're raising the red flags. Jenice had been working for the county office I think she worked for the county office about 15 years or so, since her early 20s. So it wasn't unusual for her to take a couple of days off and maybe call in, 2 or 3 days out of the week and say, hey, I'm taking some days off. to let y'all know, or she would write it down in the books and taking some days off. They checked the books. They checked the timesheet when she signed into the took time off. She had taken those 3 days off. So the police were asking neighbors and everything around the apartment complex that Jenice and her kids lived in. They said they would hear her in there talking because the walls are very thin in their apartments. They heard that particular morning, they heard Jenice's voice as she was talking to Talil about something, not don't forget something. And he was responding, yes, mom. They heard her voice. Thursday, they heard her voice when they was coming back from school, sending them off to school every other day. Neighbor across the hall said that she heard her, but she didn't see her. But she said, she just started, when she went to go open the door to say, hey, Jenice, had already closed the door and went back into her apartment. She didn't even bother. She said, I'll just catch you on the next time. Next time I see her, I'll say what's up. Right across the hall from Jenice and her kids. Everything just checked out, right? For the kids' story of their mom being alive and walking around, making them breakfast, dinners, greeting them, helping them out with homeworks, helping Tasha get her clothes together for school the next day. And these kids swear up and down that their mom was alive Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They started to check out when Lisa was calling her phone, and even Jenice's mother, the kid's grandmother, called her phone. She wasn't answering her phone. Now, Jenice's mother, she didn't really raise any red flags about it because she know during the week that Jenice is busy with the kids and she's working. It's only her. She ain't really got nobody helping her, and she works a lot of hours at her job. And then when she's not working a lot of hours at her job, she's taking a nap or doing something with the kids. So when her mom called her mom said that she called her on Wednesday and she didn't answer her phone. But she didn't say, okay, well, she's busy, so I'll see her this weekend. On the weekends, she would always see her mom. They hadn't made it to the weekend yet. Apparently, from what the coroner's police are saying, that she passed away that Monday night or that Tuesday morning. Some mysterious shit, right? These kids were saying, yeah, their mother was alive Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Coroners and the doctors in the coroner's office and the investigators saying, no, she was dead for 3 days. So here's the question. What was letting the kids in and feeding them and talking to them and nurturing them the whole time? The kids just hallucinating and making it all up, and their mom was just in the house dead the whole time, and the kids were just taking care of themselves and was just in delusion that their mom had died? Or was Jenice a ghost? Or was Jenice she might have been a zombie? You think about zombies, you think about like the thriller zombie, decaying, face coming off, trying to run at you, and skin, eyeball hanging out, be rotting. But she could have been a zombie. Like if she just passed away on Monday or Tuesday night morning, she's not decaying just yet, right? She could have been a zombie, or she could have been a ghost. People were speculating that maybe, just maybe, Jenice did pass away, and her ghost was just something was keeping her body moving and keeping the kids together. And when Lisa came, Jenice was able to finally be at rest. The kids had help. I don't know, man. Some weird shit, man. I don't know, man. What y'all think? Do y'all think that Jenice was a ghost? Was it a zombie? Or was these kids making the whole thing up, man? Some weird shit, right? Let's talk about it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, Charles Arnaz World.